This is the GRR-RIPPER Pro, and it's an excellent way to keep your fingers away from the bits and blades that want to bite you. Now, the GRR-RIPPER Pro is the same base unit as our GRR-RIPPER Plus, but it includes the adjustable spacer and the stabilizing plate. And these two pieces are a big upgrade, and we'll talk about them in a few minutes. But let's start just by talking about why you want a gripper in your shop, period. The quick answer to that is the gripper keeps your fingers away from the bits and blades that want to bite you. Let me explain what I mean by that. So when you're going to make a cut and you use a push stick, we're going to push from the back corner of the part. And what happens? The drag out here and the fact that I'm pushing from the back corner means that piece is going to wander away from the fence. So, sometimes we'll put a featherboard here, or maybe we'll use a second push stick and try to push that piece through. The problem is that as the two parts separate, the rip side is still free to move away from the fence and into the back of the blade, and the off-fall side can do the same. If one of those teeth happens to catch, especially as the parts completely separate, it could kick back. So we don't use these around the MICROJIG shop anymore. The gripper is going to sit on top of the stock, and we're going to have a leg on both the rip and the off-fall side of the stock, and we're going to control it all the way through the cut. So as we make the cut, both pieces are going to stay parallel to the blade. The gripper is not going to allow them to rub back here. We're going to keep you safe, but we're also going to give you a better cut. The gripper is also my moving blade guard. So when I'm in the middle of a cut, if something terrible happens, even if this piece is ejected, my hand is still well above the blade. The gripper takes the damage and not me. It's an important safety feature, and it keeps itself between my hand and the blade, but also the legs of the gripper are individually replaceable for less than $20 each. When you cut into your gripper, you're going to cut into your gripper. I do it all the time, but when it happens, you're not going to get hurt. The gripper will take the damage, and you don't need to buy a whole new gripper. You can just replace the leg. The first thing you're going to notice is the part went all the way through the cut. It wasn't a matter of my off-fall stopping here and rattling against my blade. You'll also notice that I was able to bring both pieces all the way back around with my gripper. I'm not reaching across my spinning blade, and I'm going to get a very, very clean cut. Now, if I want to do this cut again, I'm going to come in with my gripper. I'm going to lower down the blade, and the gripper is quite versatile. It allows me to do all sorts of weird cutting that wouldn't be safe or comfortable otherwise. This is no good, right? We never want anything in our system moving unexpectedly. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that balance support so that now my gripper is supported. Even though I'm standing on one leg over here, the gripper is supported and it's not going to tip or rock. Now I could make this cut, but then this off-fall piece might come flying back out at me. We don't want that to happen, so I'm going to bring my center leg right on over to take care of that off-fall. Once again, controlling both halves of the cut all the way through. But that leg is awfully close to the blade. How are we going to make sure that we're not cutting into our center leg? Well, it's really quite simple. On each end of the gripper, and you always use the one that's facing you, we have our SafeRip index scale, which is right here. The cursor shows me where the leg is. And so I can position the leg so that it's close to the blade but not touching. And how that works is I'm going to look at my rip fence scale here, and since it's a 1/4 inch there, I'm going to look for the 1/4 inch mark on my SafeRip scale. As long as this cursor is not covering the cut I'm making, 1/4 inch in this case, I will not cut the leg. I'm going to make my cut. Both pieces come back around with me. There's my cut. This is not scrap. As long as it's wider than the cut I'm making, I can keep ripping with the gripper. And now we can go get some Chinese food. So right out of the box, the gripper gives me the ability to cut right down to a 1/4 inch wide. So the other half of the GRR-RIPPER Pro upgrade is the stabilizing plate. Think about the stabilizing plate like a featherboard. It is holding that part against the fence, but it's not pushing on it. And that's an important consideration because as it goes through, if it were pushing on this piece, it would be pushing it into the blade. But it's not. It's just here holding it. Now, why do you want that? Well, here at the table saw, let's say I have an 8-foot piece like this that I want to rip a little bit off. I've got an 8-foot piece. I may have a roller stand back here to support it, but if you've ever tried that roller stand, if it's not perfectly adjusted, this piece wants to wander around a little bit. And the narrower this part, the more it wants to flap and wander. Here, as I grab it and I push it through the blade, it's locking in. And if I have 2 grippers set up that way, every time I bring my gripper in to push the part forward, we're locking that part to the fence. Very, very important. At the router table, every time that router bit swings out from behind the fence and cuts into your part, it wants to push that away. The impact is pushing that piece away from your fence. The stabilizing plate is also reversible. On longer parts, I want to use the flat edge so that it's not interfering. But the other side has a little notch in it that I can hook behind a shorter part, like here, not only to hold the part tight against the fence, but also it's not going to allow that piece to come out the back. So if I'm at the router table and something catches, I don't have to worry about it. This is going to hold it in place. One of my favorite things when you're resawing here at the table saw, or even just cutting a groove. So if I make this groove cut, it can't rise up and come get me. It's all about control. But one of the pieces that comes with the Pro is this adjustable spacer. And just like the balance support, I can put it on either side of the gripper. And the adjustable spacer is 1 inch wide, so that's going to offset the entire gripper by 1 inch. Now I can make that cut. However, understand the SafeRip index only works with the gripper by itself. If you put the adjustable spacer on or any other accessories, if I were to set it this way, don't rely on the SafeRip index for that. Check your cut. But any cut that doesn't have that, you can use the SafeRip index. I like using it at the router table because when it's upside down with the green up, I can set it so that there's a gap between the bottom of the adjustable spacer and my leg. So now that you've seen the Gripper Pro, maybe you already own the Gripper Plus and you're saying to yourself, wow, I wish I could upgrade. Well, you can. We do have the stabilizing plate and the adjustable spacer with the hardware available as an upgrade kit so that you can take your Plus and make it into the Pro. You can find the Gripper Pro at your favorite woodworking retailer, online, or at microjig.com.